Hello, everyone. Sorry for that technical difficulty, but I want to welcome you to Living Wellness Live today. My name is Dr. Olivia Moses, and thank you so much for joining us. Today's broadcast is brought to you by Loma University Health Department of Risk Management and our Living Whole Wellness program. Well, we want to really talk today about nutrition. Now, if I asked any of you, have any of you been on a diet? Most of you will have probably raised your hand. Nutrition is one of those things that affects all of us, and all of us have tried to become a little bit more healthy with our nutrition at some point in our lives. Most of us, anyway. And we can think about some fad diets, things that have become popular over recent years. And one of them is actually what they are calling a detox diet. The idea of us trying to detoxify our body through nutrition. So because this is such a hot topic, we have invited our very own from the Living Whole Wellness program, Esmeralda Valluru, who is one of our dietitians and has been with the organization for 10 years. Thank you so much, Esmeralda, for being with us today. And without further ado, the time is yours.
Sounds good. Thank you, Dr. Moses. Let me go ahead and share my slides here so we can get started. And I believe everyone should be able to see the slides. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So yes, we're going to be talking about detox diets, specifically the truth around detox diets. We're going to be separating fact from fiction. So a couple of objectives for today. We're going to understand the concept of detox diets and their popularity in modern society. And we're also going to identify potential risks and drawbacks associated with these detox diets. And towards the end of today's presentation, we're going to encourage a sustainable approach to lifestyle changes rather than relying solely on these fad diets, such as detox diets. So the reality right now is that the detox industry is booming. Demand has driven the value of the detox product market to about $51 billion globally. Although the detox industry is booming, there is very little evidence to support the use of these diets. So what makes them so popular? Detox diets are enticing and exciting because they promise quick results, and we all love quick results. And for the most part, these diets are easy to follow in terms of specific foods to avoid or specific foods to include. So what exactly are these detox diets? Right now, there is no scientific, formal, or legal definition of a detox diet, and plans often include juice fast, calorie restriction, supplementation, liquid-based, and or use of herbal teas. So the first myth that we're going to explore a little bit here together is this concept that detox diets can help remove toxins from your body. The reality, though, is that a 2015 review concluded that there was no compelling research to support the use of detox diets, more specifically eliminating toxins from the body. Despite the emerging popularity, these diets fail to identify the specific mechanisms for eliminating these toxins, or even the specific toxin that supposedly these diets are eliminating. So the big question that a lot of us have is, do I need to be detoxing my body? The truth is our bodies are incredibly well equipped to eliminate toxins. Our bodies have sophisticated built-in detoxification systems. So the best way to optimize our bodily functions is not through these fad diets or detoxes, it's by living an overall healthy lifestyle, which we're going to explore towards the end of today's presentation. Now, when it comes to detoxification, the main organ for detoxification is the liver, and it conducts the detoxification through two phases. The first phase, the body identifies toxins and transforms them into a less toxic substance that is easier for the body to excrete. Now, phase two, toxic substances bind with specific dietary nutrients to make it less harmful. Now, cruciferous vegetables have been shown through research to contain several phase two enzymes that support these detoxification pathways that are found in our liver. Now, when it comes to cruciferous vegetables, we're referring to vegetables such as broccoli, for example, kale, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, asparagus, just to name a few vegetables. And the specific phytochemical that we see in a lot of these evidence-based research is glucosinolates. Now, these phytochemicals have anti-inflammatory effects, and they're helpful for supporting these detoxification pathway, especially in these phase 2 enzymes. And they help reduce the risk for cancer, according to a lot of research that we see out there. Now, how can I get the most from these cruciferous vegetables? There is evidence that if we chop these cruciferous vegetables before cooking, they release the enzyme myrosinase, which helps break down glucosinolates, that phytochemical that we just talked about, into its active metabolite, isothiocyanate. Now, when it comes to cruciferous vegetables, find different ways to enjoy them both raw and cooked, whether it's stir frying them, steam them, microwave, as opposed to boiling. When we boil these cruciferous vegetables, we inactivate the myrosinase that we talked about earlier, which helps break down glucosinolates into its active metabolite, isothiocyanate. So the preferred method would be stir frying, steaming those vegetables, or microwaving them. When it comes to the recommendation for these cruciferous vegetables, or just in vegetables in general, is 2.5 cups per day. And you want to vary your vegetables. Your total vegetable intake does not have to come just from cruciferous vegetables, which we talked about earlier. So I always encourage my clients to eat a rainbow of fruits and vegetables, because every color that you see on these different fruits and vegetables represents a different phytochemical with different specific health benefits. Some of them are for heart health, some of them are for eye health, cancer prevention. So you want to get a variety of different colors on your plate at each meal if possible. Now, an interesting statistic here around fruit and vegetable consumption is that the reality is that we're not doing very well when it comes to fruit and vegetable consumption. So 12.3% of adults are meeting the fruit intake. And when it comes to vegetable consumption, only 10% are meeting the vegetable intake guidelines. So there's definitely room for improvement in incorporating these rainbow of fruits and vegetables. And, you know, when we're not consuming these fruits and vegetables, we're missing out on these important phytochemicals that I mentioned earlier. We're missing out on vitamins and minerals and fiber, which is also super helpful and has many health benefits, which we're going to explore towards the end of today's presentation. Now, we talked about the liver being the main organ for detoxification. There's also supporting organs of detoxification, such as our skin, for example. It's the largest eliminating organ. Then we have colon, which eliminates waste from our body via bowel movements. And of course, our lungs do a wonderful job of eliminating airborne toxins via breathing. And kidneys do an excellent job of filtering blood to help remove toxins and byproducts from our body via urine. So leave the detoxification to the expert, these wonderful organs that we have. Now, we can do a lot to support these supporting organs of detoxification, including our liver. So, for example, we can get our sweat on daily. I always encourage my clients to look for opportunities to select a movement that you enjoy doing and looking for opportunities to staying consistent with that movement, even if it means small amounts. Something is going to be better than no movement. And when it comes to supporting our lung health, engaging in deep breathing exercises, maybe looking for opportunities throughout the day or throughout the week where we can make this a practice, a habit, so we can get the benefits connected to engaging in deep breathing exercises. And eating high fiber rich foods, which we're going to talk about, I think, in the second half of today's presentation. There's so many benefits when it comes to incorporating a fiber rich diet. So we'll talk about a couple of those fiber rich food sources that we can include if we want to get those benefits connected to that. And then in supporting our kidney health, staying hydrated throughout the day, especially during this heat wave that we're going through. So drinking at least half your body weight in ounces of water daily is going to be a really great idea. So now we've reached the halfway point of today's presentation. So if you have any questions, feel free to type those in the chat box.
Thank you so much, Esmeralda, and thank you all for watching. And if you have any questions and if you're watching us live today, please go ahead and type those questions into the chat or comments section and we can ask Esmeralda right now. So, Esmeralda, how do detox diets compare to other approaches? So, such as balanced nutrition and regular exercise in term of achieving kind of long sustained health?
Yes, no, that's a great question. The reality is that, in some of these studies that we talked about earlier, when it comes to detox diets, we do see that there is short-term success when it comes to weight loss. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of studies that have good control groups. These are small, very small studies, and so we can't really see what the long-term implications of that are. But what we do know is that these detox diets are very restrictive and potentially not sustainable over time. And what we do also know, and we'll talk about, I think, in the second part of this presentation, is that when it comes to these restrictive diets, such as detox, yes, we'll lose the weight in the short term, but the reality is once we stop that diet and go back to a normal diet, what we're seeing is that we gain that weight back. And so what the research does show, though, is that in having a healthy or following a healthy eating pattern that incorporates fruits and vegetables, whole grains, nuts and seeds, that has been shown to be not only helpful in the prevention and management of different chronic conditions, it has also been helpful in supporting healthy weight management. So yes, focusing on healthy, balanced eating and leading a healthy lifestyle is really key for long-term sustainability when it comes to weight management or weight loss. And we'll talk about that towards the end of today's presentation as well.
So, Esmeralda, are there any downsides to doing these detox diets?
Yes, there are some safety considerations to keep in mind. Sometimes these diets can be potentially dangerous, especially for those who have underlying conditions like diabetes, kidney failure, and we're going to explore that a little bit more in the second half of this presentation. So yes, if you're focusing on, weight loss, you're probably going to get that in the short term, but there are some real potential dangers to kind of watch out for, and we're going to talk about that shortly.
Now, you talked about very specific foods in this presentation, the cruciferous vegetables and, and the like. Are there any other foods that you would suggest that we incorporate on a daily basis into our diet?
Yeah, so the cruciferous vegetables, because they contain those phase 2 enzymes that support detoxification pathways. But I'm also a big fan of not promoting just singling, specific foods such as blueberries or raspberries. We need to be incorporating a variety of different foods from all of these whole foods, whether it's your fruits and vegetables, eating a rainbow of them, because once again, that we talked about earlier, all of these different colors represent different phytochemicals with different health benefits. And whole foods in general provide us with a good amount of fiber. And we're going to talk about this nutrient shortly that provides us with many benefits, not only around, potentially removing toxins via bowel movements, but also additional benefits that we can get from incorporating fiber-rich food sources.
And the last question on this section, you talked about diet, exercise, and basically we talk a lot about diet and exercise here in Wellness Live to help other things. And it sounds like that is kind of one of those kind of foundational things that we can do to help everything, not just this. So the question then is, we all kind of know that we need to be exercising, eating, healthy nutrition. The question I have for you is, what are some strategies that you potentially would suggest to help us actually do this for long term? And, these detox diets are nice. Oh, I can get healthy in like 2 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it is. But really, it's this lifelong thing. So what are some strategies you could share?
Yeah, one of my favorite ones, and if you've been in any of my programs, whether it's a Spark program or health coaching program, and actually I'll touch on this right after we're done with this Q&A, is this whole concept of starting small and building from there. So is there something small that you can start off with? Sometimes we hear these recommendations out there around physical activity, around nutrition. I need to be eating balanced meals. I need to be, getting at least 30 minutes, 5 days a week. But the reality is we all have different barriers. We all have come across different challenges that get in the way, and it can be difficult to stay consistent with the 30 minutes 5 days a week, and overwhelming with everything we have going on. So I'm a big proponent that little commitments can compound over time. So if you're not able to commit to the 5 days, 30 minutes a week, are you able to do 10 minutes, maybe twice a week, 3 times a day? All of that's going to count and compound over time and provide you with benefits. You might not see it, within the next couple of days, but if you stay consistent, even with those small amounts, you're going to be able to see some of these great benefits connected to your consistency.
So whatever that adage is, Rome wasn't built overnight, just one brick by one brick, and try not to be too down on ourselves,
Yeah.
not to change everything all at once. That's great advice. Okay, why don't we get to the next half of your presentation?
Okay, wonderful. So let me go ahead and share my slides again. Let's see, I believe I might be sharing slides now.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. So the next myth that we want to talk about is this whole idea that weight loss from detox is sustainable. The reality is that there's very limited evidence that short-term detoxes are an effective long-term weight loss strategy. What we do know is that restrictive diets are unsustainable. Yes, you're going to potentially lose the weight in the short term, which is fantastic if we're looking for those quick results. But the reality is what we're seeing, the research so far, a 2017 review looked at the evidence on detox diets for weight loss, and it found limited evidence available, especially over the long term. So detox diets may lead to short-term weight loss due to the restrictive nature of these diets, focusing on restricting calories, but they do tend to lead to weight gain once a normal diet is resumed. Now, another myth that's pretty common out there, and I believe there was a question around this during the Q&A, is that detoxing is safe. But the reality is that detox diets can actually be dangerous, especially for those individuals that might have some sort of underlying health condition. Extremely restrictive diets can have negative effects on the body, including fatigue, nutrient deficiency. Once again, because of the whole idea that some of these plants can be very restrictive, they potentially might even be eliminating a complete food group, which is concerning, and we'll talk about shortly. A couple of other negative effects is dehydration and electrolyte imbalances. Now, a couple of safety considerations. Some juices used in detoxes are made from foods that are high in oxalate, which can increase the risk for kidney problems. In addition, drinking large quantities of water and herbal tea and not eating any food for a number of days could lead to dangerous electrolyte imbalances. So before starting any detox diet or any supplementation or any new diet, I always encourage my clients, first consult your physician, especially because there might be even some potential drug interactions that you might not be aware of. So detox supplements often contain a blend of nutrients and herbs that may interact with some commonly prescribed medications. In addition, because so many of these cruciferous vegetables that we just talked about are also high in vitamin K, it's important to note that anyone taking the blood thinner warfarin, also known as Coumadin, needs to monitor their intake when it comes to these cruciferous vegetables. So it's really important to connect with your physician before you increase your green intake if you're on these specific medications. In addition to that, once again, I want to make sure that I disclose this, that before starting any detox supplementation, that you connect with your provider because it might interfere with certain medications that you might be on. So a couple of things I wanted to talk about, a couple of red flags on how to spot a fad diet. So when we're talking about fad diets, we're talking about these trendy weight loss plans that promise these quick results, but with really very little scientific evidence to support these diets. So these are a couple of red flags to kind of be on the lookout for, especially as you're scrolling through social media and you're seeing these really interesting diets pop up. So these are some things I would encourage you to kind of keep an eye on. So if it cuts out an entire food group, that is concerning because there are some food groups and macronutrients. We want to eat a balanced meal. We talked about that earlier, and I think we'll talk about it in a couple of slides ahead. We want to eat a balanced meal, and when we are cutting out a food group, we're cutting out important vitamins and minerals, maybe even phytochemicals, and we're cutting out fiber, which is super important. So we want to avoid that as much as possible. Any diet that is incorporating or suggesting the idea of restricting certain food groups. If it promises a quick fix, it's probably too good to be true. If it requires you to spend a lot of money, if they don't promote the need to exercise, that's another red flag. If it's described as easy, magical, or a miracle, that's another red flag. Now, we're going to get into a couple of sustainable lifestyle changes because the reality is that we all want to be healthy. We all want to potentially have, support a healthy weight, and we all want to be leading a healthy lifestyle, not just for a couple of weeks, not just, short term, potentially long term. And so that's what we're going to be exploring in the next couple of slides, some strategies for staying consistent long term with these healthy lifestyle changes. So the first one is this whole idea of starting small. What we know is that behavior change is best done in small, gradual ways. Positive health shifts are achieved through small lifestyle changes that you can keep doing over time. So I encourage you to start small, especially if you haven't been active for the last 6 months or so. Maybe you want to start off with that whole idea of maybe 10 minutes for twice a week. And stay consistent with that amount, and maybe check in with yourself in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. How's that going? Am I ready to make some modifications and add another day or add a few more minutes? And then stay consistent with that over time, and then just continue to build. So start small, pick one small sustainable action that you could potentially start with that will contribute to some of these health and wellness goals that you're working on. So earlier we talked about how eating a healthy, balanced meal is key to leading a healthy lifestyle when it comes to the prevention, the management of chronic conditions. So as much as possible, if we're able to have, balanced meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or any snacks in between, that's really going to be the best approach. So this is a checklist if you're looking to see if your meals are balanced. So a selection of vegetables, and remember, the more colors on your plate, the more nutrition. So aim for at least 3 different colors. Decide on a fruit, a whole grain, some sort of protein on your plate, and a healthy source of fat. So following this balanced meal will ensure that you're getting all of these important macronutrients, your vitamins and minerals, a plethora of those phytochemicals, and of course, fiber. And all of this is going to help us with those feelings of fullness and satiety until our next meal, and also with managing blood glucose levels throughout the day and avoiding these big blood glucose spikes throughout the day. Now, another important aspect, and we touched on this earlier when it comes to our gut health, colon health, it's important to include fiber-rich food sources. So when we're talking about fiber, we're talking about a type of carbohydrate that the body cannot digest. And there's just so much research out there supporting the wonderful benefits of incorporating a fiber-rich diet. So benefits include digestive health. It promotes satiety without the extra calories. It's helpful with cholesterol control, blood sugar control. It supports a healthy weight management. In addition to that, since we're talking about detox diets and how, there's a proposed myth that it can help remove toxins, fiber can help excrete toxins via bowel movements. When it comes to the recommendation for men, it's about 38 grams per day, and for women, it's about 25 grams per day. The reality is that we're not getting enough fiber in our diets. The average American gets about 15 grams per day. So there's, room for improvement when it comes to getting closer to that recommendation when it comes to fiber. So if you're interested in increasing your fiber intake so you can get the many benefits connected to having a high fiber rich diet, these are a couple of high fiber rich food sources. These are not the only ones, but these are a little bit more richer in fiber. So if you're interested in getting started here, but you can find fiber in all of the different whole foods. So your fruits and vegetables, your whole grains, and your nuts and seeds. A disclosure I do want to make around increasing your fiber intake is that you want to do so gradually. You don't want to go from 15 grams to the 38 grams. So you want to give your GI tract time to adapt to that. So you want to gradually increase your fiber intake. And as you're increasing your fiber intake, you also want to increase your water intake as well. And so the next couple of slides are just some strategies for eating healthy, for incorporating maybe some of those cruciferous vegetables and just fiber-rich foods in general. So maybe starting a salad bowl day where we incorporate those leafy greens, a selection of vegetables, your healthy source of protein, and a healthy source of fat. Another strategy here, one of my personal favorites, it's an easy way to get a warm dish on your plate without having to do a lot of work behind the scenes. So basically all you have to do is throw in your favorite vegetables, make them colorful, maybe add a cruciferous vegetable in there, and add a protein source to that sheet pan with your favorite herbs and spices. Maybe sprinkle it with extra virgin olive oil or avocado oil. And you roast that for about 400°F for about 20 minutes. And once again, it's a really easy, great way to get a warm, healthy dish on your plate. And so staying consistent with movement, we all know that exercise, getting consistent movement has many great benefits around mental health, supporting our heart health, and the list goes on and on. And so, of course, we talked about how earlier the recommendation for exercise is 30 minutes, at least 5 days a week. But any movement is going to be better than no movement at all. So if you're not able to stick with the 30, find what you think will be best for you in the next week. You want to set realistic goals and just stay consistent with that. In addition to that, having that consistent movement helps us sweat out those toxins, and it releases those mood boosting endorphins that help us feel really good after a nice workout. And what we also know is that physical activity leads to better sleep as well. And when it comes to prioritizing our sleep, what we do know as well is that our bodies do a lot of recovery and repair during a good night's sleep. So the recommendation, according to sleep experts, is anywhere between 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. Now, there's many benefits connected to getting optimal sleep, reducing stress, maintaining a healthy weight, increasing energy, improving memory, focus, and productivity. Now, the last piece of the puzzle here when it comes to lifestyle changes, it's having support system. Engaging with your support system and partaking in activities are proven to have the following health benefits. So longer life, a stronger immune system, feelings of happiness, improved memory and cognitive skills, increased motivation for self-care, and lower levels of stress hormones. And if you know about the blue zones, these pockets of population around the world where people live the longest, what we know is that they have certain, criteria of what makes these blue zones or these populations around the world live longer. And one of the tenets that they've described is that these individuals tend to have that social connectedness and a sense of community. So I encourage you to, think about maybe having, an accountability partner, somebody that can support you on this health and wellness journey, somebody that you can check in with maybe every other week, once a month, that checks in with you to see how you're progressing with your health and wellness goals and maybe joins you on some of these workouts that you're going on. What we know is that social support is key to maintaining healthy behavior changes. And research does show that we are 2 times more likely to follow through with something when we've committed the plan to somebody else. So just, in the next couple of days, start exploring. Is there somebody that can be my accountability partner moving forward when it comes to just checking in on some of these important healthy lifestyle changes that you're working on? I do want to talk about a couple of resources that are available through the Living Whole Wellness Program. We have our recipe database with a lot of plant-based vegetarian recipes that meet a wellness criteria for healthy eating. They have all been analyzed to provide you nutrition facts information. The recipe database has different categories if you're looking for breakfast ideas or kid-friendly recipes or entrees, side dishes. You can find it all there. So I would encourage you to explore the recipe database. And most recently, if you're looking for meal plans, we added those as well to this recipe database. There's a category for meal plans. If you're interested in that and getting some ideas, I would encourage you to explore that as well. And then we also have living whole cooking demonstrations that we conduct at least twice a year. We had one, I believe, last or this month. And so we're going to be having another one towards the end of this year on eating healthy during the holidays. But if you haven't been able to join the live versions, all of these food demos have been archived. So if you're interested in learning more about eating healthy and making healthy recipes, I would encourage you to explore that resource as well. And in summary, wrapping up, the reality is that there is no compelling evidence to support the use of detox diets when it comes to weight management or for toxin elimination. What we do know is that we can support our body's natural process of detoxification by eating healthy, balanced meals, by including fiber-rich food sources, by being active, staying hydrated with water, getting adequate sleep, and having support systems. So wrapping up here, I always like to end with a question to kind of challenge you. And my question for you all is, if you could make one small change today to improve your health, what would it be? What would that small change be that you're interested in starting to work on? So feel free, if you want to stay accountable, feel free to put that in the chat. That way you can start, staying accountable with those on the web. And that is it for today. I don't know if there's any questions that we have.
Thank you so much, Esmeralda. I loved how you approach this on a very holistic basis on how we can detox. Now, it's interesting. You mentioned that basically we have a sophisticated body that really knows how to detox itself. So if we have that, and that's scientifically proven, how in the world did detox diets get so popular?
Yes, no, there is, a great marketing team behind these, detox companies out there. And I apologize if there's any background noise. I think the gardeners are going through. But yes, there's an extensive marketing team behind the scenes working on the packaging, the labeling, and just making it enticing for you to buy. In addition, and they promise quick results, and we all love quick results. In addition to that, sometimes they have celebrity endorsements and things like that. So that makes it even more exciting. And so those are things to be on the lookout for. But the reality is that it's in our hands. There's something small I can do today to help me, in the overall lead a healthy lifestyle.
Great. Now, as we're going through, because, sometimes it's hard to weed through what is true and what is not true when it comes to the marketing. Are there certain phrases we need to kind of watch out for when it comes to the marketing of these that will alert us?
Yeah, one of the ones I can think of is lose, 30 pounds in 7 days, or, something like that, something that promises very quick results, or something that has exaggerated claims, like you're going to remove cancer, you're going, these exaggerated claims, a lot of them are not based on science and evidence. And the reality as well is that there's no regulations as well going through when it comes to these detox supplements out there in the market as well.
Well, I think the biggest thing, if it's too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah.
So, when you hear that. So thank you, Esmeralda, so much for being with us today and all of this great information. And I think we can end today's session with kind of basically saying, always talk to your doctor as well. If you have any questions, talk to your doctor or dietitian when you are wanting to embark on a healthy journey and are really trying to see what to do with your diet. It is always good to talk to your providers about that. Well, thank you again, Esmeralda, and thank you all for joining us. And I want to invite you to our next session, which will be August 31st. And it is going to be a really great session because we have the topic of your health plan. Now, many of us, when we think about our health plan, we think about it being complicated and what is covered, what is not covered, and how do we approach it? What can we do? How can we be more knowledgeable? Well, we have our resident expert here at Loma Linda in health plans talking with us about that. His name is Mark Hubbard, and you don't want to miss it. So again, I want to thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.